Majority Leader.
The issue before us is of immense consequence to our country. The American people are entitled to a real voice and to know where their elected senators stand on this important issue. Until recently, this was a principle members of both parties seemed to endorse rather overwhelmingly. In fact, not a single Democrat, not one, Mr. President, not a single Democrat voted against the Iran Nuclear Agreement Review Act. We all recall it passed 98-1. They told us this was an issue too important for political games. Here's what one Democratic colleague said just last week. As a caucus that was opposed to games with filibusters over the last 4 years, I would think it would be really regrettable if we didn't ultimately go to the floor and cast our votes for or against this deal. But that was last week, apparently. Democratic senators just voted to filibuster and block the American people from even having a real vote on one of the most consequential foreign policy issues of our time. It's telling that Democrats would go to such extreme lengths to prevent President Obama from even having to consider legislation on this issue. If the President's so proud of this deal, then he shouldn't be afraid. Shouldn't be afraid. We all know the amount of time the administration's been spent up here asking all these guys over here to take a bullet for the team. And of course, the team is Team Obama. They all wanted to have a say. And when it came time to having a say, they said it was more important that the President not have to veto a resolution of disapproval. More important to him than to them. This is a deal that was designed to go around Congress and the American people from the very start. We all remember the President didn't want to submit it to us at all. This is going to be an executive agreement, still an executive agreement. Didn't want us to have any say at all. Senator Corker and Senator Cardin worked together, ended up developing a proposal overwhelmingly proposed and supported to give us a chance to weigh in on this important deal. It would empower Iran to maintain thousands of centrifuges and become a recognized nuclear threshold state forever on the edge of developing a nuclear weapon. That's what's before us. That's what's before us. It would effectively subsidize Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Assad regime, by the way, which apparently is now going to include a Russian military base in Syria, by showering tens of billions of dollars on their benefactors in Tehran. It would leave Iran with an enrichment capability, just as the Iranian leadership is again calling for Israel's destruction and praying every day for our destruction. This deal is sure to have many consequences that will last well beyond this administration. And yet, as things presently stand, it would limp along with little or no buy-in or input from Congress or from the American people, who, by the way, we know overwhelmingly oppose the deal, in spite of the President's best effort to sell it to them. This shouldn't be an acceptable outcome for our friends on the other side, even those who support the deal. I predicted earlier, and I'll predict again today, we're going to have a raft of new bash Iran proposals introduced by our friends on the other side, who are going to be born again Iran bashers. So let me make it clear to all of our colleagues, we have voted, we're going to vote again, but we are voting on the Iran Nuclear Agreement Review Act. We're not going to be taking up bills that have fewer than enough co-sponsors to override a presidential veto. If we want to make a law, like we did with Corker Cardin, show us enough co-sponsors to make a law. But we're not interested in using floor time for get-well efforts over on the other side to try to fool their constituents into thinking, oh, I really was serious about Iran, in spite of the fact that I voted for the deal that you hate. We've only got so much floor time here in the Senate. We're going to try to use it on serious proposals that have a chance of becoming law. Now, my assumption is the president's not going to want to revisit this issue. He got what he wanted. He's not going to want to revisit this issue. So, if we want to do anything further about this Iranian regime, bring me a bill with enough co-sponsors to override a presidential veto, and we'll take a look at it. Otherwise, the American people will give us their judgment about the appropriateness of this measure a year from November. Because this is not an ordinary issue. This is an issue with a real shelf life. This is a regime that's still going to be there a year and a half from now. And of course, we know it's still an executive agreement only. So if perchance there's a president of a different party, I would say to our Iranian observers of the debate that it'll be looked at anew based upon Iranian behavior between now and then. As others have said, the Iranian parliament apparently is going to get to weigh in. I heard the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee say that. I guess they're going to get a vote. But our friends here on the other side want to employ a procedural device, which, as the Democratic leaders pointed out, is commonly used around here. But the question is, on what kind of measure is it used? This is no ordinary measure. This is different. This is different. So we'll have another opportunity to see whether we want to move past this procedural device. The president's proud of the deal. I don't know why he'd be reluctant to veto a resolution of disapproval that's put on his desk. He's having press conferences about it. He's bragging about it. He thinks this is really great. I don't know what they're protecting him from. I'd think he'd have a veto ceremony and invite all you guys down to join him and celebrate. What are you protecting him from? We'll have a chance next week, one more chance, to allow him to say how he feels about the resolution of disapproval. We know how he feels about it already. For the life of me, I can't get why he is reluctant to veto this resolution of disapproval, in effect, underscoring again what a great deal he thinks it is for America. So we'll revisit the issue next week and see if maybe any folks want to change their minds and give us a chance to remove the procedural roadblock and give the president what he's been asking for. Give him what he's been asking for. I yield the floor.
Mr. President.